straight into this one. The anticipation was too much to bear, guys. It's Sandbox, it's BSG, and it's Skyscraper for the first time in the South Korea League for 2023. Best of 3. It's playoff time. It's the knockout stage. You win, you move forward, you lose, and you're done for the league itself. I mean, this is it. You've basically got to win from here to take on the next challenger, which would be Talon in the semi-final for one of these two.
Well, we talked a little bit about Brava on the desk, and sure enough, it ends up getting banned out alongside Dokkaebi. Mentioned that Brava has been quite prevalent here in South Korea, especially comparatively to other regions where it's been very much a niche selection. You've often been able to count those picks on 1, maybe 2 on a good day, hands, and then Solace and Valkyrie to round things off. So you look at all 4 of these operators. Information. So droning is going to be critically important here from the attack, especially on a map like Skyscraper, where you're often looking to sweep the map.
And you got to think about sort of like, I guess, why is the information so important on Skyscraper? I mean, information is important regardless what map you're going to be on, but Skyscraper, I think, as I said, sort of in the pre-match discussion, it's those windows, it's those entries. It's a map where you really do want to pressure as the defenders. You don't really want to allow the attacking team to kind of get a foothold in the map and get into good key positions, especially Vert as well, super important on a map like Skyscraper. Ultimately, therefore, information is going to be so valuable. And I think, yeah, I mean, look, does Brava need to be banned? That's stretching it a little bit, because like you can kind of counter the Brava a little bit more than say even the Solace, the Dokkaebi, the Valk, because those 3 are going to get what they actually want. The Brava, you see that Clutch Drone coming in, and if it hasn't, hacked anything, then obviously you can destroy it, and the Brava's done nothing. So I think that I don't know. I don't know about that one, guys. You take out the Nook.
Yeah, well, the Nook has been incredibly potent here in South Korea. It's had one of the highest presence in terms of any operator in the game. So it is certainly intriguing that teams are taking the Brava as precedent over that Nook. But again, on defense, if you do want to be able to flank and roam around, you don't want to worry about defaults being hacked, then dealing with the Brava in the ban phase isn't necessarily a bad idea. We'll just see whether or not other operators like that Nook that perhaps have quote-unquote slipped through will have an impact. Obviously, we can't quite read into the future, so we're just going to have to sit back and enjoy this one. Glaz also selected here, run 1 for Sandbox. Good boy can post up over towards that karaoke door. Here's that Twitch. In exchange for the Clutch Drone from Brava, it can deal with you till top black stairs. So Sandbox in decent positions. Unfortunately, though, that presence on the window over towards karaoke, it has been nullified as BSG get the first pick.
Those that maybe didn't get to watch sort of the group stage, the changes for Sandbox, pretty much just 1-for-1. Demic comes in, Static retired. Other than that, it's the same roster, and it's good in sort of obviously roster stability. Well, it's all about information, and so therefore, operators such as the Pulse is going to be so important here. Yubel actually, though, has been droned out. Makes it a 4 versus 4. The Glaz losing that battle outside of the map. Ideal, definitely a key position that you want to be winning, and it is Yubel, though that does eventually find the kill onto the roaming Demic on that Nook. So Pulse 1, Nook 0.
Minute 30 now on the clock, and Yubel can just lock down this position in delivery, but he pushes forward. He'll advise the Narakaze, standout player from Sandbox, to bring it back to a 3 versus 3. And there's over a minute for Sandbox to work with here. Again, keeping in mind they did clear top black, so they could try and work their way in through karaoke. They'll just continue to pressure from down below at the moment, though. Mephi still has a grenade in hand, and if maybe he can pluck one on the Vert once he finds a bit of information, that could open the round up here. And again, there's quite a bit of time here for Sandbox. No need to rush this push. The pressure, I think, really now on BSG to deny some of this information, to make sure that their positions on site aren't compromised, and the mute coming into play there, making it very tricky for Sandbox to know where these defenders are.
40 seconds left, 3 versus 3. Still hard breach available if needed for Arakaze. I don't think it's going to be a big factor here, though. MP Taylor. Double shotgun to the face from Kurimiki on the mute. Does give BSG the advantage here on the defense now, with the final 30 seconds ticking down on site. Down to just a half health Mephi on the Yana. Gemini available, but yeah, time a factor now. Probably can't send that one out. Got to play together. Selma goes out from Arakaze, tries to open this up. The softball's still there And Mephi falls, and Kiramiki gets them both with the SMG and the shotgun combination. It's a great start for BSG.
Yeah, really good job there. They're reading into the win condition there from Sandbox. They've rotated over towards Black, but BSG holding the correct positions to deny that entry. And again, the mute really coming into play. Sandbox playing blind there in the last 30 seconds, trying to play contact. And unfortunately, the footholds there, the setup making that increasingly difficult. And again, this is Sandbox's map pick. An unknown factor at that, though. In fact, both of the selections really are. Skyscraper and Bank up next. Limited data from both teams. Obviously, there's we can theorize all we want that behind the scenes they've been scrimming it. Maybe have insight on that. Secrets can be shared, but
well, the last two banks for BSG, both losses. 7-1 loss to exist as well. But before that was actually a very important game against Fnatic in their best of 3 in the APAC closed quals, guys, and that was an 8-6 loss on bank to a Fnatic team that obviously was actually having a pretty good run in those quals up to that point, especially. Fell short in the end. So they've played it, but yeah, it's not really like their map. Neither of these two teams have basically gotten maps that you would sit back and look at their map pools and be like, yeah, they both got what they wanted. As we've kind of alluded to, obviously, Skyscraper has got to be surely a bit of a scrim map for Sandbox. Surely they've been working on it. Otherwise, if they haven't and they've just kind of thrown caution to the wind, this might end up being their downfall. We were kind of discussing, especially between the two best of 3s today, this is the more likely one, where I think BSG are a lot closer to Sandbox than La Vega to D plus Kia. So you cannot be throwing away a map like Skyscraper because anything can happen. Then on Bank, as Gaki finds the opening kill onto Good Boy, that's the Nook again taken off the board. I also want to mention here, guys, something strange. Triple hard breach.
Yeah, we have seen a couple of teams across the old Asia-Pacific sub-regions, you know, Korea, Japan. They are leaning into the Maverick, which still is shocking to me. I don't quite understand the theory behind it, but it does offer some stability if a hard breacher falls. Got a question though, Good Boy on the Nook. Instead of lurking down below, instead of trying to navigate around the map and find a pick here or there, or pressure from vert nades, etc., playing the breach early on in the round, it's not a position where you really want the Nook to be. That's not where they're going to be enabled to make their best plays possible with that utility. Yeeble down below. Ooh. Well, he had good information again, but he does win out that. Well, he doesn't win out that fight, rather. 4 versus 4. Halfway through the round, and Sandbox can look to stabilize a little bit here. Good information as well on site with NV Taylor. The question would be, how do they deal with keeper barriers? They don't have any explosives left outside of those Salmas, so Arakaze will be tasked with clearing them, but again, easier said than done with that util.
And obviously, I guess with the electrified walls, that's where the Maverick can offer a little bit more support, opens that up. You can shoot the bandit trap now, and that's going to be a minute left on the clock. 4 versus 4. At least a little bit of work done on these walls. Some good sight lines have been opened up. Droning as well has actually been very good from Sandbox. Only 4 destroyed, all of them active. At least getting that information, like we talked about, you said at the start of this game, droning going to be so important, so critical. That's something they've been able to do. Kiramiki, unfortunately, makes a bit of a bad step. Makes a bit of damage, and Taylor now sensing the opportunity to strike now and send this one in. 35 seconds, 4 versus 4. Still good positions on the defense for BSG, especially with these keeper barriers, and it's mainly just hard breaches that are breaching and making their entry.
Question will be, what's the plant denial like as NV Taylor gets to work? Both walls open, a nice pick as well. Nitro in the hands of the mirror, but Hiramiki shut down. NV Taylor holding this position nicely. Arakaze outside Samurai. He has the diffuser in hand. It's fallen. Now 10 seconds.
Yeah, not all the time. Red time. They've got the player advantage, but Retardress and Gaki can kind of just hide at this point. There's just no time. Demic has picked up the diffuser, though. With all of basically 2 seconds on the clock, he now sticks it. Is there anyone that's going to be able to walk back in and stop this one from going down? He saw him at the split second, but it won't be enough. He was off by a very, very small margin. That will probably cost PSG the round. It was a tight shot. But regardless, Demic makes a big play, getting that diffuser just in time to get it down successfully for Sandbox. They'll win this round. And we get the Gemini plus the Yana as well. 1 for 1. In a 2 versus 3, 20 seconds left for Gaki, and Demic will put a bullet in his head. Sandbox steal this round. It was so close being a 2-0 start for BSG.
Yeah, very narrow margin there. The window of opportunity was open for plant denial. There was only a fraction of a second left on that plant animation, and it was almost disrupted. But in high pressure situations like that, we have the benefits of the outline, right? We're screaming internally. He's right there. But when you're in that clutch situation, when it's a slightly strange plant position, and you have to be mindful of the cross, mistakes like that can happen. For Sandbox, though, a good response, and MV Taylor in particular, a nice 2k on the breach. Plant denial there from Haim Jin was lacking. He could have impacted the wall, but it was just a fraction late. Nonetheless, though, it evens out the scoreline, and we're actually going to go to bedroom here for round number 3. So at this point in time, 2 remaining objectives. They could have headed over towards kitchen and barbecue, but we'll head to the western side, or the eastern side rather, of the map. And this could be quite a tricky objective, but it revolves a lot around this upstairs hold, the vertical down below, to make planting very difficult.
Yeah, basically you just extend above over towards XC and office and just sort of hold this. We're seeing this obviously very commonly on a lot of different maps now where you've got this kind of site. You basically have the hold above. Wow, that was an early kill from Good Boy. My goodness. Literally took 2 steps, shot through the window, finds the kill on Tagaki. That's the bandit gone. And that's probably going to be really annoying if Gaki hasn't set up his batteries at all. Because if he had have just sort of went for a spawn peek first and then wanted to opt into putting his batteries down somewhere later, I'm not too sure if these walls have been electrified. Ultimately, though, yeah. The main thing with this site that I like about it is it just sort of leans into what we see on a lot of different maps where you're holding above, you're extending above, having to force the attacking team to clear basically a different set of rooms that are not the site, wasting time. And you can drop hatches. You can then play the site later in the round, the last 30, 40 seconds. We'll see how it plays out, though, especially considering PSG are down a play already and a pretty big one.
MV Taylor electing not to use his drones up above. Again, that's where those Kiba barriers are being set up. So Roteros are a great way to deal with them, and that is the matter at the moment. But instead, those barriers will be left standing, making that push up above just a little bit more challenging. Hiramiki does fall first. Pardon me, gets the first pick, and that's Good Boy down. So the 1-for-1 trade. Good Boy would have been great for the execute with those E1D scans. Entry down below as well, so low potential available here for Sandbox. And I wonder where that Nook's playing as well, Demic. He could be quite a threat. Just droning himself at the moment, and I guess looking for that window of opportunity. He can call Vert as well, pinging out that player inside of Bathroom, and I think Sandbox are trying to find a way to deal with that, but an opportunity not quite presenting itself yet.
And this setup as well is probably the one site where I don't know if the Nook's really going to be like that impactful. You're mainly just trying to pinpoint attack a site. It's less about the roam game on this kind of site. I'm not too sure if Demic on the Nook is going to be all that impactful. As I say that, he'll probably go and find a couple of kills. But just sneaking onto site actually is MV Taylor. Got the kill. So he at least gets one there. Breaks up that defense a little bit with just under a minute left. Demic still has Diffuser on said Nook. Mephi low on health on the Yana. Not sure exactly where that happened. Arakaze, though, cheeky little shot onto Retardress. And it gives the advantage, a very slight one, though, over to Sandbox. Mephi very, very low. Nitrocell still available for Kiramiki. Demic trying to see if he can just make the push into sight. Has done so successfully. Now, Arakaze can watch the window. So Demic just has to get a plant that is going to be in line of sight from that window. Make it very difficult for BSG to get any kind of retake. 15 seconds left. We'll see if we can get the plant down. And he probably will with Mephi finding the kill. That's a high Jin. Even if Kiramiki denies this, it'll still be very difficult. Too late in denying as well. Loses his life from the shot down below from Demic after getting the plant down successfully. Well, the execution of defending that site in the end did not go the way that BSG would have liked, and it didn't help that they lost their bandits straight away.
Certainly didn't. It just made that upstairs hold a little bit more challenging, and Sandbox actually then the 3v2 had every role required covered, and they probably had the best operators in those positions to go for said plays. Mephi up above, he was low on HP, so he just lurked up in that position. Tried to apply a little bit of pressure, then the second player down below was covering the hatch drop, so the easiest rotation back towards site. And then, of course, they had the Nook for the plant. So really well played there from Sandbox. They execute it quite cleanly. And BSG finding it tricky to deny that plant. But we've seen it a couple of rounds now, right? Where one team or the other throws an early pick, untraded, and so far it's been quite a critical operator. The round prior it was Sandbox with the Nook, and that time BSG with the Bandit, two operators where you cannot afford, especially once Util's not down in the hands of the Bandit, for instance, you cannot afford to die early. It's just inexcusable, really, at this level.
Yep. A little bit disappointing there for BSG. Didn't mind the setup, didn't mind what they, probably wanted to do. It obviously just didn't come through. So 2-1 scoreline. Sandbox, it is their map pick as a reminder. You can see that obviously in the top right. Bank after this. Chalet if needed. And it's not like BSG's bank is all that, well, successful either. No wins in this calendar year or at the back end of last year either. Just 2 losses. Both of these two teams, though, I think it's just a case of when we kind of looked at that map, Vito's first 4 maps were kind of the maps that you would expect to see, tend to see. Oregon, Clubhouse, Villa, etc. And expecting a potential jump out. Fairness, I haven't seen a whole lot from BSG though on the defense to suggest they're going to go for those kind of plays. They've been quite stagnant. They haven't gone for those aggressive plays on the defense.
Picking the Ying into the Warden here. Taking on Yeeble, a brave decision from Sandbox. I've got Yeeble listed as a plus 13 kill differential at the moment. May well be topping the league. In fact, yeah, it is. It's had a quiet start in this one though, 1-3 so far. So we'll see whether or not he can get his way back into it. Sandbox need to be very careful, right? They've got 4 smokes, they've got the Ying. They don't deal with the Warden. They don't know there's a Warden. That can make the execute very, very tricky. Rotation though coming through. Just double hard breach now from Office side at the halfway point of the round. So time, it's being limit tested a little bit here by Sandbox. A quick drone should make sure that it's clear, and the fact that it's not being held and not being extended by BSG at the moment is very beneficial to Sandbox because they'll be able to take that and they'll have 30 to 45 seconds and then clear drum and try to push through T.
Just under a minute left, still 5 versus 5. Candela's out from Murphy, just the one. 2 more still available in the back pocket along with the smoke as well. A couple of smokes available. This is where the Warden's going to be so important. Yeeble's life is so important. Needs to stay alive here late in the round, be able to deal with that oncoming push. I am Jin. Well, that goes the Azami, and Good Boy can push straight into sight now. No one watching this. He's basically at the chassis and can probably now get a couple of BSG members who are probably going to get really caught off here. Yeah, Warden had no idea. What's Evil meant to do there? He's got absolutely no clue, and he's just sitting inside of sight. 15 seconds. Arakaze gets the diffuser down. Well, this one is slipping away from BSG. This was the most one-sided round we've seen in this match so far.
One small mistake opening up the round there. Sandbox capitalized. Really well played there by Good Boy. And I think BSG perhaps just having a little bit too much faith in that keyword barrier that it would give away a cue that someone was pushing through that door. Really, it was as simple as Good Boy just crouching under it, staying silent, and cutting down the retake. Well played there by Sandbox. And that's now 2 rounds in a row for BSG where just a couple of mistakes compound, none more so than the last. And I think you framed it perfectly right. It is quite literally and objectively the most one-sided round we've had so far. Flawless from Sandbox. And they identified a win condition and played off it really well. And I think so far through this game, perhaps identifying those win conditions has been a little bit of a struggle for them, but that round it was clear. It was very, very decisive how they wanted to win it, and they executed it very well.
Yeah, and very different maps, but you kind of go back to obviously the group stage a little bit. BSG's success over Dem. 1 Kia.
D plus Kia.
Plus Kia. Well, it's all technically still the same anyway, right? It's the same organization, just rebranded. Anyway, was defense. 5 defensive rounds. It was Clubhouse in fairness, but was still, their attack was only the 2 rounds. So it is Skyscraper. I think it's a bit more 50-50 of a map, but it's still not a good sign. I mean, the opening round was pretty decent. It's not like BSG won it because Sandbox did anything wrong. But the last 3 rounds now have just kind of started to snowball. You can kind of see from a small snowball to now a really big one. And if they're not careful, it could turn into that avalanche. over to Exhibition and Office now for what is essentially round 5. 2 rounds to go in the half. Very important 2 rounds for BSG. They do not allow Sandbox to get themselves a very big lead. And honestly, I'm just going to say it. 2 rounds to go off the back of a tactical timeout. I think they've got to get a little bit more aggressive. I think they're just trying to hold angles on site. And Skyscraper is just not the map to do that. You need to roam a little bit more. You need to probably spawn peek a little bit more. Put some pressure on Sandbox. They're just doing too much for free. Not getting punished for making entries like they did on the last round. Not getting punished for trying to spawn kill through windows. Just BSG are not really offering any kind of aggressiveness on the defense. And I think it's costing them on a map like Skyscraper.
Interestingly, Azami has been picked 60 times so far in the Korea League. But it's only had a 45% success rate. 27 wins, 33 losses. Surprising. I would have expected that number to be a little bit higher. Maybe if BSG's defense is anything to go by, it's them allowing these drones into sight, which weakens those positions behind the barriers, and then the fact that they are playing quite defensive. They're giving Sandbox a lot of map control, a lot of time. Good boy. He's already in reception. He's got 2 minutes now to just lurk around. If anyone goes down those stairs, they're going to be done for. Opens up the opportunity as well for grenades, but it's Demic outside the front door to get the first once again. But Good Boy's traded. So it's a 4v4 and Yeeble actually now on an island down below, playing for information once again, but struggling to get himself on the scoreboard. And that's what he's been so good at in this stage.
It's the right play though. I mean, you could be 1 and 4 and still be doing the right things. It's just the execution of it maybe is a little bit off. And we saw that, I think, in one of the earlier rounds where he got a really good heart reading with his cardiac sensor, goes to peek it and ends up losing that fight, right? He's done everything right up to that point. So you can't really ask for a whole lot more. You need someone like Yeeble in these roaming positions, putting pressure on Sandbox, getting information. You just tick, tick, tick along the way of doing the right things. Obviously, the next step is to obviously find some kills, because that's where we're seeing a lot more success from Sandbox. As I say, that Evil does find a kill onto Demic. So that's Yana and the Nook shut down. 2 very aggressive roaming characters off the board. Arakaze, though, says hi to Hyam Jin, and the round continues to feel like it's just at an arm's length away from BSG. Every time they bring it back, Sandbox have got an answer. Kiramiki under so much pressure, and Arakaze is fragging now. He's got 5. Almost leading the way, just 1 behind Mephi. Out goes the Nitrocell from Yabal, and from below, up above, finds the kill onto Arakaze. Mephi takes over. He'll get the diffuser down. Yabal's now got 2 in the round, has to find 2 more to win it. The BSG, not going to happen. MP Taylor knows where he is. It's a 4-1 scoreline now, and off the back of the tactical timeout, BSG can still not find a way to stop this momentum of Sandbox.
Yeah, great shot down there from Envy Taylor. He's looked super switched on in that game. Knew exactly where that player would end up rotating from. Great read. Good composure in the gunfight. And I am still just a little bit hesitant on this theory from BSG and Yeeble in particular, playing that pulse roll. Now, it is offering decent information, but the team is not capitalizing on it. If anyone's playing it, it shouldn't be him, because he's been the one fragging out, and if they are going to stick it, just put it on somebody else, so that Yeeble himself can actually play off the information, because BSG are getting it fed to them, but just not really having an opportunity, I think, to respond accordingly. Sandbox looking sharper in the server at the moment on their map pick, a 4-1 lead. Skyscraper attack, looking very, very favorable for Sandbox at the moment.
I like the Warden here, though, right? Like, unfortunately, when we think back to obviously last time we were on Tea Room Karaoke, it was that little creep push in from Sandbox, and Yeeble got caught. Never even got to really play the round. Runs back into sight, and there's an attacker there. Like, how has that even happened? As you said, keep a barrier was thought to be enough of a deterrent from BSG's side, and Sandbox just said, no, we'll just go under it. Easy as. 4-1 lead. Yeah, a bit disappointing at the moment from BSG, but in fairness, it is not their map pick. They didn't like to go here. And it's not like they've got a whole lot of experience on Skyscraper either. But, you know, it's funny, between the 2 teams, they're the only one with a win in recent history on it, but it was a long time ago. 17th of September last year in the Korean Open against Prep Esports, 7-3. How much do you really take into account that kind of result? You probably don't. You'd probably be more likely to suggest that Sandbox have been scrimming this, prepping this, and decided to finally bring it out and test it. And so far, they've looked good. I think, obviously, a lot of our focus has maybe been on BSG's defense, but I think Sandbox's attacks have actually been very good. Their drone usage has been good. And understanding that they need to get that information, that they're bringing, you know, obviously the Nook, roam around, they're getting map control, they're taking advantage of BSG's lack of aggressiveness. So I think all the credit has to definitely go to Sandbox. Being the better team, deserve the scoreline. And it's just a matter of just sort of continuing on here. Very keen to see how they play on the defense as well.
Yeah, I can only assume with the confidence we're seeing on the attack, Sandbox will play a lot more contact heavy on defense, but we're just not seeing it from BSG. Like, no one's playing offense, no one's denying the drones. There is some pressure, drum, and I assume thrown as well, so there is at least a front line on the defense, and that will probably be in response to the creep last time from Good Boy. So this is okay from BSG, I like this. And the keeper barriers will support a nice little one-way here in towards that front office position. We'll spot feet. Retadjus can play a very, very nice position. It's going to be difficult to clear this. Flores drone from Envy Taylor, but it is the last one, so he needs to make sure that it's perfect. We'll see if it lands. Well, and it does. And Retadjus now, he'll be in the hot seat.
Minute left as well. It's time a factor in this round. Definitely better from BSG, though. They're forcing Sandbox to clear a little bit more offsite, deal with the roam pressure, a bit more prevalent. Hard to say as well if this is going to be attacker-sided. If it does, then maybe BSG get around here and bring it back 4-2. And overtime could be on the cards. It's a big win for Hyam Jin. Lost a lot of health in that fight to Good Boy, but you'll always just be happy to be the one left alive. That's an incredible angle found from Demic, though, onto Yebol. The Warden, again, not going to be in play. 20 seconds left, 4 versus 4. Tantras over towards T. Just holding the angle. Hyam Jin still top stairs and has really the best angle to stop any kind of push through the doorway. Gaki finds the kill onto Demic. It's all falling away for Sandbox in this round. Finally, BSG's defense holding strong. And for Taylor, all he can really do is stat pat towards the end. BSG will get the second round to close out the half.
And it's quite remarkable just how a couple of little additions to that defense, a couple of additional keepers to play contact through throne and drum, just stall out that attack. Last time, Sandbox literally just walked through that. This time, though, they were stalled, and by the time they'd cleared it, their avenues of attack were limited. They got one pick onto Yeeble, but then the rest of the team stood up. A good response there from the second line of defense.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being
And now we see the shift.
attackers.
I don't see any huge reasons why this should be attacker-sided, but it comes down, I think, to how proactive Sandbox will be on defense. Are they going to be the ones extending aggressively? Are they going to do a good job in denying information? Because those two key reasons, for me, was why Sandbox were in such a favorable position on a lot of those attacks.
The second half we go. 4-2. Definitely deserved scoreline for Sandbox. Much better as well. I mean, it's interesting because we haven't really had any kind of round at the moment, guys, where I think it's been 50-50. It's come down to this scrappy finish. No real kind of 1v1 or 2v2 clutches. The 2 rounds that BSG won to start the half and to end the half, pretty clinical, pretty good. I thought they actually played them quite well. They were largely in command in those particular rounds. They had a lot more roam pressure. It was the other 4 rounds where they just didn't offer much. They went into their shells a little bit. And Sandbox obviously just took full advantage of that and won pretty much all 4 of those rounds rather comfortably. So it's all been about the swings and roundabouts so far in this match. Neither side really able to just, in the rounds that they're losing, do a good job of really fighting tooth and nail towards the end and scrap it out. And it just fall away as the round does go on, as it does progress. So Sandbox on the defense, bit of pressure. Murphy throws out the keeper barrier. So this is where those Rotero drones are going to be so important in dealing with this utility.
Ooh.
That one gets shot.
Yep. It's nice from Murphy. Just little things like that that can add up against the attack on a sweep. Able on the hard breach. Will open up that wall. So that's a nice tick in the checklist for BSG. Good information now going forward. And Kiramiki will double down, but there is a player towards that front office position. Just being mindful of any traps. Player still in position, but Kiramiki caught off guard. And you can see it's just such a stark contrast here. Sandbox playing very aggressive here over towards office. They get the first 2 picks. 1 corp on the rotation, but it's still an advantage to Sandbox.
Yeah, and a little bit of set and forget as well, you know, with the Frost Mats, the Sawyer Gates too from Good Boy and Arikaze. Ambi Taylor can kind of put down the shock wires and then, you know, sort of move around. You got the Nitrocell. They don't have to necessarily be on site besides basically Demic and Mephi who want to sort of lock down key positions. Into drums now for Retadris. Minute left. Definitely wouldn't give up on this round. Left bridge, hard breach, MP, so you can open things up if needed. But I'm pretty sure there are breaches already available. But it's Good Boy that finds the head of Kaki. That kill probably the crucial one in this round. And this is what I was talking about. Like, we get to this point where 4 versus 3, 4 versus 2. It never quite comes down to this 2 versus 2 scrap with 20 seconds left. One team is just always able to sort of just pull away, get a bit of an advantage that is really unrecoverable for the opposition. 20 seconds left. And obviously, look at Sandbox now. They are not giving an inch. They are hiding. They're playing time. They've been so conservative after being aggressive. Really good ability to adapt as the round goes on. As the conditions change, so does Sandbox. Good shot from Retadris. That was a bit of a flick and a half. But again, time. And Yebel was the one that actually had the diffuser. They get the kills. Would have been a timeout regardless. Sandbox win the round. But, you know, that's what I'm talking about. With 20, 30 seconds left, it's not really even a contest. It's a 4 versus 2 with no time. And now it's a 5-2 scoreline for Sandbox. And they get a bit closer to that match point.
Well, the round's really being won and lost on that first initial entry, right? Where Sandbox, they're playing aggressive over towards office. Stark contrast to BSG, who for the most part were bunkering down on site with sometimes a frontline defense at the halfway point of the map. Sandbox right in the face there of the entry. They get the first 2 picks. There was 1 trade, but still that advantage from Sandbox was treated with incredible caution. No one really throwing away their life at the end. It was a great shot from Retadris, but meaningless really at that point. So it's up to BSG now. They're the ones under pressure. Sandbox have shown in their first defensive effort that they are not going to play shy. They're not going to play scared. And there's no reason for them to, right? They've got a lead. It's their map pick. Overall, their systems are working quite nicely. And for BSG, they're going to have to shake it up a little bit here, I think, and try to get some players into the game that are struggling at the moment.
And hard to envision probably BSG bringing this one back, because what has really sort of been suggested to say they can, it's not really been a whole lot. I think Sandbox have been in more control, more commanding team. Tactical timeout already called by BSG. Sandbox haven't even looked remotely close to having to call something like that. It would take a really strange turnaround for BSG to win this map. Again, best of 3, and it is the map pick of Sandbox. Expectations, well and surely we're on them to do well here. Demic on the Clash. Ramiki already very low on the Kali. Clash or not, probably not a whole lot to be done to stop this exothermic charge.
Well,
and the breach open.
And the Kali in the equation, right? Kali can just shoot the Clash and bump the shield, right? So that's a good counter from BSG, and just means that Demic isn't perhaps as much of a threat on the balcony as we would have liked, but he can still pester, he can still be annoying, and especially late round. Trades elsewhere, if the Clash is still up, it can be very, very difficult to deal with that. And again, Kiramiki already low, so that Kali needs to be careful if that win condition is to stay up here for the attack. And V Taylor still lurking around. He's been having a great game so far, 6-2, and just seems to always be in the right position at the right time. And with the amount of experience on those shoulders, it's expected at this point. Just waiting for someone to rappel up to that single breach or to expose themselves on the balcony. Demic still continuing to play information. Retadris, though, with an entry now down below. So a threat with grenades, and he can cut off the rotation back up house stairs and cover Kiramiki, clearing some util on said stairs. I'm liking what I'm seeing from BSG at the moment. It feels like they're cooking up something at the moment that could work.
Defender exposed.
But again, with a minute to go, this is still a very 50-50 round, and it's shaping up to probably be the closest one we've seen so far.
Well, we've seen a couple of these rounds though where it's 5 versus 5, 50 seconds left, and then every single time Sandbox are able to sort of just garner a bit of a lead in the round. Maybe this time that'll be BSG. Thing above, nade in hand from Retadris, doesn't let it go. Obviously wants to do with this clash above him. Getting that opening kill is so important as well. How much do you really expect Kali to be an influence late round, right? So you want to get a couple of these kills so that Kiribiki doesn't have to be really all that relied upon later. And so far, they've done a really good job to get these opening 2 kills and no response at all from Sandbox. It's like they've just shut down, gone on site,
15 seconds.
hiding in their positions, more so probably playing for time. That is a wonderful shot from Good Boy. I thought he got the collect. Good Boy falls in the end. Now it's a 2 versus 1.
Oh,
Demick and MP Taylor at the exact same time find 2 kills apiece. It's only Gaki and he's got no time.
yeah.
What a turnaround in the round. And for the first time in this game, that scrappy, that 50-50, that contest, finally. But it goes the way of Sandbox. And now they got match point.
And I alluded to it, right? The more the numbers wither down, if that clash is still alive, the more of an impact it has because it's easier to isolate some of those attackers. But it wasn't really even the clash, I don't think, having a huge, significant impact during that execute. It was Sandbox. They just, as we've seen on both rounds so far, even at a disadvantage, they're willing to play very defensively and hold positions and hold the entry points that they know BSG are going to walk into. They hit some really nice shots. Good Boy, a great example. And despite being traded very quickly, BSG trying to filter through a single doorway there found themselves in a lot of trouble. They just lacked a bit of a pincer from elsewhere. They lacked perhaps that lurk entry that we saw a couple of times from Sandbox that can apply pressure, apply a bit of a pinch. And Sandbox looking, for my liking, a little bit too comfortable. It didn't look like they were in a man disadvantage there. If you were to play that round back and not see how many players were left, it would be very hard to discern that Sandbox were backs against the wall there. But they played it very well, and then we go to bedroom for them to close out this first map.
5 seconds to go.
It's a damning scoreline though, 6-2. BSG sort of bring it back on bank because I guess that's what is going to be needed of them now. I don't think they're going to be able to win 4 rounds in a row here on Skyscraper. So far, they've yet to even be able to put 2 in a row on this map. Be a massive turnaround, especially on the attack where you can't really do a whole lot wrong. Double hard breach. Really good soft breach potential as well. Sledge, Flores, utility clear. Not a bad attacking lineup from BSG, but nothing really that just sort of screams confidence. Aggressiveness, taking risks. It's all just a little bit same. It's all just a little bit basic. And I think that's been the difference between these 2 teams. Sandbox have done a lot better job at getting information, getting map control, knowing when to sort of fall back, also when to push forward. And that's basically what won them the last round. Sometimes, you can be aggressive and that wins you the majority of the rounds, but you got to sometimes know when to just sit on site, play a bit of time, play your angles, being the better team at adapting, being the better team that's versatile. All a little bit too one-dimensional from BSG here on Skyscraper on a map where you really do need to be versatile.
And I think Sandbox as well, they've played into their bands really well, right? On attack, They didn't really need that Bravo because they had so much information, whether it be on that entry or inside itself more often than not. And on the defense, BSG, from what we've seen so far, have been starved of information, even with Solace unavailable. So for me, that's the big standout. Sandbox are well prepared on this map, and they've really thought hard and done a good job through the ban phase. BSG, let's see if they can respond and at least make this map a little bit more competitive leading into their pick. Envy Taylor, 7-2. Fantastic survival rate so far in this game, and has just been so impactful. Great Rotero though in response. Hi, Jin will take care of that Keeper barrier. Let's see how long Envy Taylor can hold up above because there's only 55 seconds to go. Demick though supporting over towards house stairs. And there we go, Arakaza as well. So the 3-man stack up above here from Sandbox paying dividends, and Envy Taylor, he just jumps out for a bit of fun. Gets a pick. A 2 versus 4.
And again, the difference though, in that little moment, Envy Taylor probably sensing the opportunity to really sort of compound the pressure. SG do well though, at least in able to get a couple of kills back. So you punish Envy Taylor for the jump out. punish Okaze for kind of just sitting a little bit still there on the angle. That's a 3-2 scenario. 24 seconds, still above for Retadris on that sledge, trying to just get some information from above, trying to force a couple of these defenders away from certain positions. But I think for Yebol, it's just going to have to be the drop through the hatch with a bit of help maybe from Retadris. He does not find anything, and therefore probably doesn't find much of a chance of winning this round. 5 seconds left. Not going to happen. Map's over. Sandbox far too good on Skyscraper. Well, they've clearly been working on it, and they've played into it really, really well. And the biggest thing for me was more the bans really sort of trying to limit what makes Skyscraper really, really good.